All right, everybody. Hello and good morning. Thanks once again for taking a part of your day to share with us here at MLA Move Language Ahead. We are going to run our episode today, which is an ESP topic, English for Special Purposes. And we are going to take a special dive today into the English for Business topic. We're really excited to be joined with a guest speaker today who we're going to get to in just a few minutes. So we have a great lineup today, and we're going to turn over our presentation to our guest speaker. So let me start by making some of our announcements in the front of today's webinar so we don't run out of time here at the beginning. We have a lot of really exciting things lined up for this week and in the coming weeks, as you know, with our free teacher training webinar series, as well as some of our other webinar series. We have our TALKtime series tomorrow, which is our MLA Chit Chat Club. This is a student-driven webinar that we do on Thursday mornings. That's going to be 3 p.m. Central European time. Now, tomorrow's really special because we're going to go on an excursion to Hollywood, California. We have a Foley artist. A Foley artist is also known as a person who does sound effects in movies and film and TV shows. He recently just completed a project doing the sound effects for the movie Jumanji. He works for Sony Motion Pictures, and he's going to be taking students through his studio and how he creates sounds, and is going to talk about some careers in movies. So I really encourage you to send the link to all of your students and have them sign up for tomorrow's webinar for the Chit Chat Club. It's going to be a really fantastic day over there in Hollywood, California, talking to a Hollywood sound effect artist. And then we have a special MLA kitchen coming your way on Friday. We've just come off of Mother's Day this past Sunday, so in honor of Mother's Day, I will be in the kitchen this Friday with my mom, and we will be cooking up in her kitchen in Maryland. We're going to be doing a special dish, which is going to be a crab quiche, because I'm from Maryland. Crab is really a signature dish. So it's a very special MLA kitchen with my mom cooking together this Friday. So that's this week. Don't forget, next week we continue our Talk Time series with more ESP topics. Next week we're going to venture into the world of STEM. Does everybody remember what STEM stands for, the acronym? Tanya, you've got the acronym?
Oh dear, I'm tested again, aren't I? Oh dear, this is the American one, isn't it? Anybody here can help me out on the panel, please come and help me out with the STEM. Do you remember this? S, something with science, I believe. Technology, engineering, and our favorite, let's do the British and the American, math and maths. We like our S's at the end in the UK. Yeah, we just like to add that little S in.
Mathematics. And we've got a science teacher who also has a ESL teaching background. She's going to be on with us next week for a great ESP episode with STEM learning. So a lot of great things coming up. Don't forget mlaworld.com/webinar for all that information, or follow us on social media for all that upcoming things. Okay, enough of my advertisements. Here, let's hop on back here, and then we'll let Tanya go ahead and introduce us to today's ESP topic of Business English.
So thank you everybody for joining us for Business English. We really want to show you, obviously we've got a fantastic guest speaker today who's going to be giving us some more information and some more insight from a business perspective. I just wanted to show you that, you know, today's webinar, you'll be able to take some of these ideas and, you know, revert them into lessons that you can engage the kids with as well. So we'll be looking at ESP, Business English, but always that connection with our EFL lessons or our lessons with our students as well, because we want to keep students' attention, always critical. And at the end, we'll always do a little recap as well. Okay, so ESP and our guest speaker that Carson has lined up, you know, really looking forward to speaking to you today as well. Okay, so that's our aims for today. Now, what I'd like to do, I've put here, how is business English used in the English language classroom? But actually, I thought we'd start with a little game so I can start to get you engaged and check that you're on chat. So I thought we'd do a quick A to Z game, okay? So we won't go all the way through the alphabet, but this is a technique and idea you can use with your students. So business, not just business English, but business in general. Can anybody give me a business beginning with the letter A?
Ooh.
Anyone in our chat? Anyone going to give us a little beginning with A? See how far we can get down the alphabet before we have to stop. No. Architecture. Thank you. Okay, let's go to B. Anyone for a B?
A business with B. It sounds like a tongue twister.
Bus driver. Okay. Brainstorming. I'm not sure if that's a business area.
Bank. Bank would be a business.
Banking. Okay, good. Again, so we've got architecture, banking. Let's go to C. Anyone else can get us a business beginning with C?
That's a good letter. Let's see. C. Cooking, currency, carpenter.
Carpentry.
Counselor.
Exactly.
Excellent.
Fantastic. You see, once the brain starts thinking, let's get into D. Come on, let's get faster and faster, everybody, our teachers out there. What about D? Anything beginning with D? Oh, there's a lot of thought going in, isn't there? Now, this A to Z game, divorce. I had to pick that one out. That did make me laugh. But I think, again, within that area of development, so many different things that you can do with an A to Z game, doctor database. And again, it takes a little while and suddenly the ideas start coming through. So you can go for A to Z, a simple game with your students to get them thinking about those areas. And then you also know which areas they're interested in business, or which ones come to mind. Yep. So it's a really good game. We've already gone on to E. Thank you so much. Look, you've already jumped ahead of me. I love that. We're already in the environmental field and e-commerce. Look, engineering. Again, and I think it's really good from a vocabulary standpoint to take the noun for the person and then the noun for the actual area of business. So really good vocabulary topics that you can do. Very simple, A to Z. I see no one's, oh, someone's jumped onto F. Thank you very much. Again, and we could keep going all the way through our little business English course. And again, all these ideas will be available to you at the end. So really important now, I think, just that simple game.
So let's go ahead and get started into our deeper live. And at this point, I would like to go ahead and introduce our special guest, who is Donna Disbrow, who is a lifelong human resources specialist, who is joining us today from her home in New Jersey. Hi, Donna. Good morning.
Hi, everybody.
Well, Donna has spent her career working, as I said, in human resources management. She had started off with a company called Bristol Myers Squibb, which is a large pharmaceutical business engineering firm located in New Jersey. And then I had the pleasure of working with Donna when she worked in higher education at Rider University, a 4-year private college in central New Jersey, overseeing a large team of professionals, faculty and staff administrators in the higher ed environment. So I've known Donna for more than 14 years. She's been a personal career counselor for myself, and really happy to have her join us here. And she's got a great presentation today, walking us through ways we can incorporate business English exercises and teaching into our ESL curriculum. So, Donna, without further ado, I'll pass it over to you, and I'll pull your presentation up for you.
Okay, thanks. Hello, everybody. Hope you're doing well in this weird time that we're in. So I'm going to be talking to you this morning quickly about marketing your talents and creating a resume and cover letter. So it's important to note one of the words that I used. I used the word creating, not writing. And the reason for that is you really are creating a picture of yourself. So that's the reason why it's important to take the time to do this and to do it right. Carson, did you say you were doing this? Yes? Okay. So when creating a resume, there's some things you need to keep in mind. First and foremost is that most recruiters review a resume in 15 to 30 seconds. So you have a very, very, very short period of time to catch their attention. So therefore, a resume has to be clear and direct, and obviously professional and easy to read. And it has to be structured to specific accomplishments. Nobody really cares what your responsibilities are. People care about what you did. So you have to write it to the target audience. That means whatever job you're applying for. And it has to be free of irrelevant information, such as references available upon request. Of course they are. You don't need to say it.
That's really excellent topics, Donna, because we just completed a whole webinar on writing for a specific audience. And so we were talking about, knowing your audience and formatting, skimming, how we skim things with our eyes. So I think they're perfect topics. So the writing exercise webinar, if you want to go back into our archives and look at that episode, I think this fits in perfectly with how we're creating now our resumes.
So I wanted to share with you the key elements of a resume, and you could talk to probably 100 people and get 100 different answers, but these are my answers, and they've worked for the people that I've helped, and I think that they would work for anyone. So obviously there would be a heading which would include all your important information. Now, I don't believe in objective statements personally, and here's the reason why. I think an objective statement really locks you into a specific position. So for example, if your objective statement was to become be a director of finance, unless you're applying for a director of finance, that could really be a little misleading because that title means different things at different organizations. So, there might be an assistant director that you would be perfectly happy with. So I always suggest not to include an objective statement. I think the next thing, the career summary, is the most important part of the resume. It needs to be clear. It needs to tell everything you've done, and it needs to do it quickly. And then, of course, you would have your professional experience, your education and training. Awards and affiliations, here again, unless they're relevant, they don't need to be on there. And then special skills, that's also optional. And I would say that a special skill would be used particularly for someone in a technical field where there's a bunch of different, say, programs or something like that they would need to include. I want to talk to you a little bit about the career statement. This is what a career statement or summary is. It's a position statement that brings your experience from the past into the present in a way that grabs the attention of the reader. And let me just say this, that career summary will be everything that they need to know about you. And the career summary will be the last part of a resume that you write, although it'll be the first part of the resume that people see.
So Donna, if we have students that are going to be writing their resume or their CV, curriculum vitae, for the first time,
Yes.
Could the career summary also be a summary of their academic career and their studies in school?
Yes, absolutely. When working at Ryder, that was one of the things that many of my freshmen in freshman seminar class that I taught would ask me, they'd be like, I just got out of high school, I don't have any experience. That is so not true. Your entire career begins probably at the time that you start high school and from then on. It could be about the clubs that you're in, it could be the leadership that you've had in those during high school or college, it could be anything. It's really not, it's about how to package it. And that's actually what this career summary is.
And
So
before, Donna, you go on to that next slide, let me just say that we have a lot of slides that Donna has prepared, and there's a lot of text. But don't forget, we will send the full presentation out to all of the attendees following today's webinar. So don't worry if you're on your mobile device right now and you can't see the fine prints on the words. You're going to get this full presentation sent to you following today's TALKlime presentation. Thanks, Donna.
Sure. So that's right. There is a lot. This is a large paragraph, right? But the reality is that the first sentence is a sentence that grabs the reader's attention. And that's what you're looking for. It's the first sentence that you need to be particularly careful with, because as you can see, it talks about everything the person has done in one sentence. Every sentence after that builds off of the first sentence by giving a little more information. It incorporates the accomplishments with how it was done and in many cases why it was done and what the result was. So that's a career summary. To me, it's the most important part of a resume. And it's one, as I said earlier, also one of the hardest to write, which is why I always recommend that it's written after the rest of the resume. So let's talk about accomplishments for a minute. So an accomplishment statement clearly demonstrates your past ability to contribute. And here are the three components of an accomplishment statement. And I would say 85% of the resumes out there don't have these. And the reason is people don't take the time to actually think about what it is they've done, how it is they did it, and what it is they accomplished for the business. Or, for example, for someone who hasn't worked in industry yet, what they've done for an organization, say, in college. So every good accomplishment statement should include a challenge. So what was the goal? What were you trying to do? An action, how you executed the accomplishment, so what you did, and then the result, the business impact of your action or the impact of your action. So here's a sample. Exceeded annual sales quotas consistently by an average of 15% for 3 years by initiating a system of follow-up contacts with satisfied customers. And I've highlighted for you each element of the accomplishment statement. So in red is the challenge, in, I think that's purple, is the action, and green is the result. And notice that they don't follow that sequence other than the challenge. You want to get to the challenge, the result, and then how you did it or what you did. Because the challenge and the result are the most important things.
That's awesome. So this is another great exercise that we can do with our students, is even presenting them like maybe the challenge and then asking them to come up with an action and a result to kind of do that, or vice versa. We can give them the result and ask them to come up with what was the challenge and what was the action.
Exactly. So let me talk a little bit about how to strengthen an accomplishment statement. So here, when I said 85% probably don't have them, here's what they have. Conducted many training programs in several states reducing problems. Okay, that's good. I mean, that's good. But let's make it a little better. And making it better is quantifying what you did. So better would be conducted more than 45 there's a mistake. 45 customer service training programs throughout an 8-state region, reducing customer complaints by 22% in a 6-month period. It's better. It's much better. It includes all the elements. But what it doesn't do is it doesn't start off with what you accomplished. So if you flip that around, you'll see that if you start with, which is what people want to know, right? They want to know what you can do for them. It starts with reduce customer complaints by 22% in a 6-month period by conducting more than 45 customer service training programs throughout an 8-state region. So that's how you can take something, an accomplishment that's good, and make it into the best one possible, which would be a great exercise. Educational background really needs to be simply stated. If you're applying for jobs, you have the background that's necessary. So you just really need to put what it was, and it's really simple. The place, the university, where it's located, and the degree that you achieved. Dates are not necessary unless you're a recent graduate. One of the reasons is dates pretty much tell people how old you are as well. And it's not necessary to do that. And high school is not necessary unless it's your highest level of education. So as you move on through your career, students in particular, they might have high school on there as they begin. But as you move through and have advanced degrees, you would kind of drop that high school off, because then it's assumed that you obviously have gone to high school.
I love this slide because one of my things that I look for when we're hiring for jobs in our industry is attention to detail. When you're dealing with customers and you're dealing with programs, attention to detail is important. Nothing can be more of a test, a litmus test of attention to detail than the way that you format your CV and your resume. So I love when people say that one of their talents are the fact that, strong attention to detail, and then their CV is a mess. It's not consistent. The fonts are not consistent. The layout is wrong. Certain words are bolded and others are not. So I think it's a great way of seeing how a person is organized, and their attention to detail is how much care they put in, to a CV.
That's absolutely true. So many people will use different tenses. For example, like increases, like it has to be consistent. And I'm going to show you now what the beginning of a resume looks like. And remember when I talked about the seconds that a recruiter uses to look at a resume? This is why you'll see that the accomplishment summary is at the very top, because this tells someone everything about the person. They don't have to look any further unless they want to. So obviously there would be the heading, which would include your name and address, email address, home phone, cell phone. And then you can include a title or not. In this particular case, I did, but this is what we looked at earlier. This is the summary. The summary is then followed by your employment history. So here we go. Obviously, this is me, if you haven't figured that out yet. But, so, hello?
Yeah, we're here.
My screen is black.
We have your accomplishments up. So right now we're looking at your Bristol Myers Squibb.
Okay.
I'll stop my share and I'll start it just in case everybody gets it again.
You're back.
Perfect.
Okay, so let me talk to you about something right here, because this is very important. As you see, this is how you format it, with the name of the company, your title, and the dates that you were there. And then there's a brief paragraph again about what it is you did and how it is you got into that job. It's sort of like a mini summary of this job in particular. Let me call your attention, though, to the bullets underneath, because the bullets really are those accomplishment statements that I talked about. So the first, or the second one, launched an internal university, created curriculums, partnered with vendors, and facilitated customized training for more than 1,000 participants, minimizing classroom time 50%. One of the things you should never, ever have on your resume is responsible for. And the reason is, of course you're responsible for it. It was your job. What you need to say is how it is you did that responsibility and what you achieved for the organization. So when I look at resumes for people, I can't tell you the number of times I read that. And it doesn't start off powerful, right? Responsible for, okay, fine. What you really need are things like really actionable words like increased, launched, raised, instituted, established. Those are the words that are important. And every single one needs to be increased, ED at the end, for example. Don't mix those up, okay? So the professional experience and accomplishments is what this would look like on a resume. And then you would have education. And in my case, I had certifications and memberships. The reason is because they were important to the industry that I was in. So having the certificates and getting a certificate from Darden was important. That's why they're there. Otherwise, it would just be the education. We want to move on now to cover letters, because there's always a sort of like a debate about whether or not a cover letter is important. And I could probably argue both ways for you, but I'll argue the way that most people think. And most people believe that it's important to have one. And this is actually a good exercise for anyone to do, because it's really writing a letter, right? So cover letters in particular have to be clear and concise. They have to be geared toward the specific position that you're applying for, and structured to show how your skills meet the major requirements of the position. Not all of the requirements. You can't do that in a cover letter. A cover letter should be no more than 1 page. So this is part 1 of a cover letter. It would have your information at the top, then the organizations. And the first paragraph would be asking the person to accept your application materials for the specific job. Okay, so that's all that paragraph is, just one sentence about what it is. The next paragraph gives a brief overview of what it is you've accomplished. So in this case, it talks about over 4 years of teaching experience, in what grade levels, and what the person has become expert at or proficient at. And then ends with why they are a good candidate for this position. Now the next part will talk about some recent highlights. So another way of saying this is some recent accomplishments. So you have bulleted right here, you have about 5 bullets about what it is the person has done. Because when someone is looking at a cover letter, they'll go immediately to this part of it. Why? Because again, it tells them what you've done. And that's what they're looking for. They're looking for what skills can be transferred into the position they have. So what you do is you look at the advertisement and you then create your highlights from that advertisement. You then go on to talk about the next part, Carson, why you would welcome the opportunity to work with them and why you believe you're an asset to that organization. And then you end it quite simply with your signature and how they can contact you. It's a very simple process. When you see it on the screen, it's a very difficult process to put together. Anyone who has not written a resume in a couple years and has had experience during those years will find it very difficult. It's important to keep your resume up to date. It doesn't mean you're looking for a job. It just means that if you ever need it, it's available to you.
I think a great exercise looking at these slides here for the cover letter would be going onto a job site like Indeed or Monster.com and finding a job advert, assigning it to a student, and then asking them to write a cover letter responding to that particular job advertisement. Because as you said, you're really picking out things in the advertisement and including them or responding to them inside of the cover letter.
That's correct. The cover letter is not necessarily about, let's say it this way, the cover letter is more about responding to the key needs of the job based on what you've done.
Well, thank you, Donna. That was really awesome. I want to make sure we have enough time here at the end of these slides to go ahead and ask any questions. We have a good group of people from all over the world joining us today. You can chat your questions. You can also raise your digital hand. We're happy to bring you into our webinar today and ask any questions of Donna Disbrow about the CV, the resume process, or the cover letter process. So we'll give it a minute. We'll see if there's any brave hands coming up here with any questions. And then if not, we'll let Tanya wrap it up here with some other great exercises for the ESP Business English world that we can go into. So
I just asked while we're waiting for anyone to raise their digital. Have we got people with their hand raised?
We do have somebody here. We have Cecilia. Hi, Cecilia. Can you hear us?
Yes, good morning. How are you?
We're doing great, thanks.
Thank you for all these talk times that you have done to us. It's very interesting and very useful. But my question is, for example, how often do we have to get our resume done? Maybe if we change a job or whatever, do we have to put them when we last maybe for 1 or 2 years or so? Is that good?
I think that it's important that your employment history be complete. So no matter if the job was for example, a year or 2 years, it needs to be on the resume. The reason for that is when looking at a resume, people also look for gaps, and you don't want to have gaps in your resume. So you want to have it be as complete as possible. So for example, a job that lasts 1 or 2 years, the information won't be nearly as long as a job that lasts 10 years, but it still needs to be on there so you can show the progression of someone's career.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Cecilia. Any other questions, feel free to go ahead and raise that hand. Again, I want to say that a lot of times we hear from students that, you know, they don't have jobs, that they don't have a CV, they have nothing to put on a CV. And just to reiterate, that's not true. And that's going to put them at a disadvantage looking for their first jobs. Volunteer opportunities that they did in the community, things that they participated in with their schools, those are all things that can go onto a CV that's not necessarily a paid professional job. So it's a great exercise, especially with your upper level students, to have them write these CVs, to let them get started for the first time, creating just a basic outline. Once they have that outline in that format, it's so easy then to keep building on that and building a great professional resume that will live with you out your professional career. But you have to start somewhere, and there's no better time than in an upper level ESL class to get started with some of your academic achievements and volunteer opportunities.
Yeah, to add on to that, I spoke briefly about freshman seminar, and so many times freshmen will say to me, I don't have a job. I haven't had a job. Your job is your education right now. So you need to look for the things that you're doing that you can put on a resume.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice, actually, Donna, because I think it's true. A lot of students, you know, when you're young and you're starting out, you don't have any experience necessarily to put on your CV. Although I think, you know, kids do have experience of doing little minor jobs, maybe helping out at home, helping out in university. So there are things, and I think we can hopefully direct them, you know, to show them some of the things that they can put on to help them out. So I think that's our age group with the kids, really. Any recommendations for those kids or teenagers or, you know, first job applications, what they should have on that CV?
Yes, I think that, excuse me, 1 second, please.
Oh, no, don't worry. We've been having, is it tea or is it coffee? What are you drinking today?
This is coffee.
Coffee.
Yeah.
American coffee.
American coffee. So not really coffee, I guess. Somebody, for example, coming out of high school, they might have done babysitting, for example.
Yeah.
They might have volunteered at their place of worship. They might have had a job. They might have had a summer job.
Yeah.
It's all about not what the job is, but how it is you present the job. So I'm going to give you an example. Babysitting, right? That in and of itself doesn't sound like a lot, but if you were to write it in such a way that it said managed up to 6 children, all of a sudden it's much more, it sounds much more important than babysitting.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's about using the key words like managed instead of babysit.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Donna, and I think that is a really good piece of advice, actually, that I'll probably be giving some of the teenagers that I know now as well.
Yes, I mean, it's all about the words.
Great. Well, Donna, thanks so much for taking a time to join us today. I hope that you and your family up there in New Jersey continue to stay safe, and we wish you all the best. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Donna.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, we're going to go back here to our last slide here that Tanya's presented with some other great topics for ESP. And this is going to be some other different lessons. So I'll throw it back to Tanya here.
Yeah, I would just ask all of you actually that are participating today, do you have a current CV that's up to date? That Donna was just talking about. As a point I jotted down now. Do you have a CV that is up to date? Can you please put yes or no into chat? I would like to figure out, because before we tell our students to do that, I think we as teachers ourselves should do our own. So we are then more prepared to help guide, you know, our students.
It's about 50-50, it looks like, on the chat right now. A lot of yeses, a lot of nos.
Right, so I think I'll give you all a bit of homework, actually, everyone out there. I think you should all go and write your CV and update it. A little bit of homework for you. Take the ideas that Donna's given you today And then from that, you can use that as a lesson yourself, you know, for your kids and for your classes.
That's great.
I would say, look, you know, vocabulary. It's like I said at the beginning, we did an A to Z game. You can take a very simple vocabulary approach to each different kind of business. So at the beginning, we had architecture. You can then do vocabulary in architecture. We had banking. You would again be looking at vocabulary in banking. So that vocabulary is specific to each specific kind of area of business. Again, I think like Donna's talked you through some fantastic points today, you know, within your CV, your personal statement, you know, really that is such a huge area, very difficult to write. I've written it, rewritten it again many times myself. When we did our writing webinar with all of you, taking a simple line and rewriting it, using new vocabulary, doing that with your students is really good for them. Learning how to sell yourself. Again, you know, it's a critical thing with the language that we have. Go back to the PowerPoint presentation on writing, everybody.
Let me interject here too, and let me introduce a word that I think some of you might have heard, but some of you might not have known this. Have you ever heard of an elevator speech? Can you raise your digital hand if you've heard of the terminology elevator speech? A couple people are coming in here. This is a great topic. If any of your students have ever taken one of the MLA summer courses that has the Business English, also known in Italy as the Alternanza Scolavaro program, one of the things in our curriculum is called the elevator speech. And the way that we came up with this term is that imagine if you get into an elevator at your place of work, and you get into the elevator with the CEO of your company, the owner of your company, the big shot, a person who you very literally interact with ever. Or maybe you're in an elevator of a hotel, and it's the CEO of a company that you admire, that you've followed, and you've wanted to work for this company for a long time. You have, from the time that that elevator leaves the ground floor until the elevator reaches, to sell yourself, to make an introduction, a powerful introduction to that person. How can you do that in such a short time that you're on the elevator? And that is really what goes into making a strong personal statement. And that is a super fun exercise to do with your students. You have to sell yourself in 25 seconds or 30 seconds. The amount of time it takes from that elevator to leave the ground floor to reach that top. You just got into the company with the CEO of Apple Computers, a company that you've always wanted to work for. You want to make the next iPhone, okay? How are you going to be able to tell Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, why you should work for Apple and his company in 25 seconds? You can use a stopwatch. You can time your kids. If you're lucky to be in a school that actually has an elevator, how much fun would it be to actually let those students go in the elevator and practice those elevator speeches? Writing those strong personal statements. It's a great exercise, and it's definitely something that will stay with the students for a very long time, because all throughout our lives, no matter what business we're going to be in, no matter whether we're applying for colleges or universities for a higher degree, or whether we're applying for new jobs, or we're trying to get an investor to our own companies that we've run, it's always going to be selling ourselves, and we're always going to be trying to do that. So it's a great exercise.
Yeah, and I think with language, you know, from the linguistic point, you know, we're selling ourselves through language, tone, manner, you know, body language, all of those things really, you know, make an impression on the speaker. So I think it's really important to remember that, like when we were doing the writing, who's reading it? When we're speaking, who's listening to us? And I think, as Carson said, you know, you can actually get the students to film themselves. They love doing Snapchats and all those other things with the funny things in the background. Shift it to a professional level so they get to see their professional side, and then they can switch it back into their kind of, you know, targeting their friends. So that's the idea of the Business English, showing them how to step up the language, tone and manner of English. But it's still fun. Again, there's some other ideas in here, you know, reading. I'm a huge, you know, advocator for reading. Reading is the key skill. The more that you read, the more that your vocabulary improves, your language, etc. So take those ideas, use them with your students. So I hope you can take some of those ideas and use them in your EFL lessons this week.
Yeah, there's a couple more suggestions there, but don't forget, we're going to send out these slides to everybody that was in attendance today. Once again, my thanks go out to Donna Disbrow for her help in joining us today with how to write an effective CV and resume and a great cover letter to really sell yourself. And quick advertisement, don't forget again, tomorrow, MLA Chit Chat Club. It's a student-driven webinar, and we're going to be going all the way to Hollywood, California, to a Hollywood Foley artist, a sound effects artist. We're going to be in his workshop, and he's going to be telling us all those incredible things. So please share that link with all your students. Next week on the MLA Chit Chat Club for students, we have a U.S. women's bobsled Olympic athlete. She was a silver medalist in the 2012 Olympic Games, and she's going to be talking to our students again on the MLA Chit Chat Club. The week after that, we also have a marine biologist, a shark specialist. We're going to have our very own MLA Shark Week coming your way with our students. So we have those great Student Chit Chat Club webinars coming up. This Friday, I'm in the kitchen with my mom cooking a Mother's Day meal up in my home in Bel Air, Maryland. So join us for that. And then don't forget to come back here next Wednesday. We have our next episode of MLA TALKtime. It's another ESP, English for Special Purposes. We're going to be joined by Trish Zignersky. She is a science teacher and an ESL specialist, and she's going to have some more great lessons for us. So once again, everybody, thanks so much for joining us today. We hope to see you back here for more MLA webinars in the future. And thanks for taking time for Talk Time. See you next week.
Thanks so much, everyone.